this elusive force, something we wait for, something we hope will show up when we finally feel ready. But what if, listeners, momentum isn't about waiting at all? What if it's about small, intentional actions aligning with a vision we dare to believe in? Welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living Podcast. I'm your host, Sana, as always. And today's conversation is about that bridge between dreaming and doing, between inspiration and consistent progress. And joining me is someone who lives and teaches that truth every day. Listeners, meet my guest, Dr. Christiane. She is a TEDx speaker, business and wellness coach, professor, best-selling author, and the host of the Happy, Healthy Hustle podcast, ranked in the top 1% globally. She helps entrepreneurs achieve big results through small, strategic actions, blending research, strategy, and wellness into a framework that's as practical as it is powerful. So, together we'll be exploring how aligning vision with actionable strategies can create unstoppable momentum in business and in life as well. So, Christiana, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
I'm so glad to be here. This is going to be an amazing one. Audience, you better get ready. We're going to have some amazing tips, strategies, and of course, some of my secrets that I'm going to share here with you today.
Brilliant, 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 Christian. I'm really, really excited, as well our listeners as they are. So let's begin with understanding, this connection between vision into action. Um, I mean, a lot of people. I mean, we all have like big dreams. But where the catch lies is how we can turn that struggle into daily action. So, in your experience, Christiana, what's the first step to aligning a bold vision with a realistic strategy?
I, in fact, actually use what I call the step system. So the first step is using the step system, which I mean that sounds already amazing in itself. With it, it's an acronym, and the S in the step stands for simplify. You kind of have to think a little bit, all right, the big goal is right there, but how do I simplify this big goal and break it down into these small actions? And then you need to choose the action that feels right for you. We can all break down goals and then others suggest, oh, you should do this, you should do that. But if it doesn't feel right for you, you're not going to get started. So you need to take your big goal, break it down into small steps, and then organize the steps into an order that feels right for you. That is step one.
Mhm.
Should I continue with step two?
Yeah, yeah. But before that, I must say, shall we consider it as like a marathon running? Like, mile by mile, something like that, brick by brick.
Oh, I like that a lot. In fact, actually, I am like the queen of analogies, right? That's one of my nicknames. I have a lot of nicknames, but that's definitely one of my nicknames. And I do like the marathon running because we might have this on our bucket list, but then how do we get started? From being a couch potato to a marathon runner. It sounds super intimidating. We all, have big goals, whether that's running a marathon or jumping out of an airplane or traveling the world. But how do we get started, right? I mean, we want to get started because these dreams are big and beautiful and bold. We just don't know how to get started. Yeah. So, firstly, simplify. That's your S in your step system. Simplify.
Super, super. And yeah, Christiana, let's go to the next TEP.
Yeah, let's do it, right? So, the T is going to be you have to tell others about it. Let's say you brought up the marathon running. Now, Santa, this your big goal? Do you want to run a marathon?
I would say, yeah, I would like to run a marathon. More than that, maybe I would like to travel the world one day. at least 50 to 60 countries. That's like my big, sometimes it really feels like unachievable, but yeah, that's the goal.
Right. So now see what she just did here, audience? She told me what her big goal is. And Senna, have you shared this with anybody else before?
No, I don't think so. Oh, oh,
Audience, we are in for a treat. So now we know Santa's goal is going to be traveling the world. And now, of course, we all are in for a treat because we are like really excited. When we all cheer you on, we wanted to travel the world because we think it's beautiful. But we have to, simplify it, break it down into small steps. So, how do we get ready to travel the world? Because there are a lot of logistical moments that go into this from, getting a passport to potentially visas, lining up the schedule, maybe figure out the time frame, the countries you want to visit, in what order, etc., etc. So once you tell others about it, you'll be surprised the amount of resources you are tapping into with your network, with your friends, with people you just met, like me. And all of a sudden, your big goal turns into something much more amazing and turns into like an accountability movement.
mm, wow. I think that's such a pivotal, mindset shift because until now, I would think that, oh my goodness, that's such a huge risk. And, as you like mentioned, it would be a logistical nightmare, passports and how much would I spend, currency conversions and flights and all that stuff. But I completely agree with you, Christiana. Like telling, sharing our goals, our dreams with, with people. I think it really simplifies because, let's, I mean, let's wonder if, somebody has been there, done that. I think that would be a really, really great situation. We would learn a lot from them, their experiences.
Completely. And by sharing it, you might just find that person that has done this. And then you sit down with them and talk, and they will give you the best pointers and tips and tricks. And this would have never happened if you wouldn't have done the T for tell others, right? So simplify, T for tell others. And I think I mispronounced your name earlier. It's Sana, not Sana. So
No worries.
that it's important. So
Okay. Yeah, okay. Now let's unfold E, Christiana, for our listeners.
E, E for examine. So let's say you're in the middle of planning now, right? So now you have to examine what feels good, what worked, and what steps will you take next. So let's say you are like a couple of weeks into planning, right? You started 2 weeks ago, you're planning, you have the Google Sheets, maybe you even have, some amazing appointments that you set up with various agencies, getting tips and tricks about flights, all that stuff. So now you need to kind of like think, all right, so what feels good? Where do I really feel I'm getting most momentum for my big goal, traveling the world? And that is what you need to do more of, right? Sometimes we just
Mm,
think about moving forward, but we don't
mm,
go back through our calendar and examine. All right, so in the past month, I had these 5 appointments. 3 of them were amazing. 2 of them were just like, and one of them was like complete garbage, right? So you need to
uh-huh.
think a little bit of like, all right, so what makes me seek out these 3 appointments to do more of, and maybe what makes sure that I'm not going to repeat what I did on this one appointment, because you don't want to do the same mistakes twice, right?
Mm, that's right.
So examine and learn from it.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think what I can kind of predict here. I mean, this is such a very streamlined sequence. First you break down the goals, then you share with others.
Mhm.
Surprising if you get a person who has achieved that, who knows the in and out, who knows the highs and lows. And then based on that and what exactly you want to achieve step by step, you kind of lay out a plan. So it's not like, just a wild dream out of nowhere and I just skip all these steps and get to okay, let's do it, just out of the plan.
No.
But yeah, I think that's the fun. That's the fun here.
Yeah, so the P is actually, we might say the most important one.
Okay.
Because now you complete your simplification, you completed telling others, you examined what worked, that was your E. Now the P is going to be you have to praise your progress. Remember how we just talked about you did 5 actions during the past 2 weeks and 3 of them were amazing? You have to celebrate those 3 that were amazing. Tell others about it. Like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I ran into this person that completed a world trip." And I'm just so thrilled that I'm going to connect more with that amazing individual and get their tips and tricks. So you have to celebrate the progress, praise your progress, and of course, the progress builds momentum because only if you look back, you examine and pick out what worked well, you're really going to get the motivation to keep going and the inspiration to eventually reach your goals.
Mm. It's like celebrate your small wins as well, not only the big wins.
Exactly.
Super, super. Christian, I think our listeners would love to know, and personally, I would also love to know, um, was there any specific journey or moment from your story, which actually kind of sparked this idea of creating the step? Like, is it from your own journey, or you saw someone through that and then you kind of created it?
Oh, this is a brilliant question. Each of these letters in the step system represents what I call a petite practice. Petite is French for small, and practice is the action that you are taking. And it's a small action, but it's chipping away at getting closer to your goal. So think about each of the letters in the STEP being an individual petite practice. Now, I trademarked this term because I kind of came up with this myself. I was asked always the same question over and over and over and over again. How do you manage to do all of what you do? How do you do it all? And I started thinking about it, how do I do it all? It's not really magic. It's not like I'm special. I'm just consistent, determined, and I'm willing to keep going when others might be giving up. And because I'm consistent, I also take small steps. And because I'm European, you might hear that from my accent, and I did love the French culture. I thought, well, let's give this a name. Let's call it petite for French small. And let's call it practice because we don't need to aim for perfection. We just keep going. And done is always better than perfect. And so I named it Petite Practice, trademarked it. And finally, that mysterious question of how do you do it all had a perfect response. I basically said, I am the creator of Petite Practice, and that's my secret.
Oh, voila, it's all in front of everyone.
Yep.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Christiana. Um, and you mentioned the word consistency. Now, I've really like seen a lot of content or maybe heard people saying that discipline, consistency, these are boring, because you have to keep on doing the actions in the same flow so that you get the results. It could be a long, consuming process or journey, but the results, they will outshine that boredom or maybe that tiring um, schedule or routine, that rut, that sometimes comes. So do you agree with this opinion or observation, Christiana, that it is boring?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, like, let's come back to traveling the world. Well, it'd be exciting to step off the airplane and visit a country. Getting there might be at times kind of boring because think about like sitting in an airplane for 16 hours. It's not the most thrilling thing in the whole world.
Why not?
So there will always be parts in our life that are boring. Now, here's my personal opinion about it. And I really want to emphasize that's one of my absolute most important, I would say, statements that I really personally make. I think
Mhm.
that we sometimes underestimate how important it is to be bored. Because when we are bored, we let the mind wander. And when the mind wanders, it becomes creative. And when you're creative, you're making your mind maybe move in directions you wouldn't have moved if you would have always kept going. So if you're sitting in an airplane and you might have a 16-hour flight, don't think like you need to fill the whole time and watch movies or do this and that. Maybe you just close your eyes and you just kind of think about what is it that you really enjoy doing? Or what during the past month, what are some people that really changed your life? Because
Mm.
boring and boredom and, you mentioned the word discipline, also
Mhm.
created some of the most amazing innovations in this world because you just
Mm.
kind of start tinkering. And like I say, like think about your mind like a little pinball machine that moves into these little nooks and crannies. And you allow yourself to get there because you are bored, right? And you don't need to constantly be entertained or busy and feeling you're missing out on anything. Just visit your own mind and see what's really going on in there? And I think that is so important. Like when I personally sit in those 16-hour flights or whatever, I fly to Europe, I
Mhm.
hardly ever do anything but just like sit there and just relax, meditate, close my eyes, and just be with myself. And I think that's such an important task, especially if I step off the plane in a new country to where I felt it just kind of took time to myself, and then I can completely immerse myself into this new culture.
Wow. And that must be exciting.
Well, it sounds like you're going to do it too because you are going to travel the world. We just shared that with the audience. So, audience members, we have to hold this lady accountable here.
Oh, okay. And now, Christian, I would like to focus on the examine part, and
Mhm.
of course, at a broader level, actions.
Yeah.
Now, um, and this is personally what sometimes I've also dealt with that. Sometimes I feel the actions or these petite steps that I'm taking
Mhm.
towards achieving my goals, they may not move the needle in there.
Mm.
So
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
I think it's a huge dilemma. Like, how do we distinguish between actions that are just busy work and actions that truly move the needle, like truly move that pinball machine into the nooks and crannies?
Yep, a great question. Great question. So, like, sometimes we feel we're just busy to be busy, and that's a problem because we look back at the end of the day and we're like, well, that whole day felt like I didn't move the needle at all. Again, important to look backward and then evaluate what works really well. At the same time, think also a little bit of, like your to-do list. Write down 3 things on your to-do list instead of 15 and then complete each things of your to-do list or even write down a calendar for each day of the week, write down 3 things, and then take a look back and see what really worked. So instead of just focusing on moving forward, take a look back and see really what works. Now, there's a lot of things in life that I just busy work and they feel like, "Oh my gosh, this is actually, like, working, like, with my time." Like, let's come back to your world trip that you're going to take.
Mhm.
Comparing prices of airlines and finding the most cost-effective flight, busy
Uh-huh.
work. And you might look at this every single day for an hour, and you might just not book anything until 3 weeks from now. But I can honestly tell you that you don't want to just book a random flight and then evaluate it and think, "Oh my gosh, I could have saved so much money if if I would have just maybe had a little bit more insight and followed prices more."
Mhm.
So busy work, while it sometimes seems it's not immediate what the goal really is, in the long run, it should still contribute to your goal. And like I said, tracking flights or evaluating what you're taking in your suitcase, or maybe reading reviews about different places.
Mhm.
It's always busy work because you're not going to the places, you're just reading, you're evaluating. But at the end of the day, it's like research. And research in itself, it could lead to an amazing outcome or it could lead to saying, not really. That's still research. By not engaging in busy work, you're also not even allowing yourself in even thinking about that particular opportunity. So for me, busy work is also something that's just part of the overall action to where you feel some of these petite practices feeling like, oh my gosh, amazing. And some of the other ones feeling like, today I spent an hour looking at flights and at the end of the day didn't end up buying anything. It could have been that you found something, right?
Mhm. Uh-huh.
You just have to kind of like think about no, right? And oh, that if you don't find something, there's going to be a next opportunity tomorrow, another day. Look again tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow comes the perfect price. And I think that we just need to be honest and we just need to keep going, and busy work will turn into amazing wins.
Mhm. Yeah, of course, of course. But Christiana, when you mention about all those steps, like researching, comparison of prices, um, you know, that really kind of deep down, and this is something, I don't know everyone will admit it or not. Deep down, listeners, that's what made me like feel a bit anxious.
Mhm.
And sometimes, Christiana, that anxiety kind of leads me to procrastinate.
Oh, yeah.
That, oh my goodness, let me do this tomorrow. Let me sleep on it, and I'll do it later. My brain cannot take this much, and
Yep.
somehow that puts a huge dent on that momentum build.
Mhm.
Then the guilt trip follows. So how do we navigate these kind of situations in there? Have you ever faced this?
Oh, for sure, all the time. I mean, tomorrow always looks better than today, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, I think that when you go through the step system that I use in my coaching and also in my books, so you
Mm-hmm.
simplify, you tell others, you examine, you praise progress, use the system really diligently. So when you tell others, those others will ask you about it and they will hold you accountable for actually taking action on your goal. And at the same time, you could even be your best accountability partner, right? On a sticky note, today I'm going to take action before I even change my mind in researching flight prices. Or today I'm going to take action and connect with other amazing podcast hosts, such as you are. So you need to think a little bit of like, all right, if I do it today, how amazing is this going to be when I wake up tomorrow? Because I already took action today. So tomorrow is just going to follow the same pattern of the day, and I can't wait. Maybe it's going to be even more amazing. And that's, I think, the gist really, that thinking about eventually I'm going to take action just postpones, then you're actually going to reach your big goal later and later and later. So the sooner you get started, the sooner
Mm.
you take that world trip.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good one. Especially you highlighted the tell others part of the step, the T of the step. I think for me, I think that would be really, really helpful. If I have a big goal in front of me, a lot of sticky notes, a lot of journaling, or maybe writing some encouraging words every morning or before sleeping, and then the one with whom I've shared, the one who knows that okay, this is going to come, so let me be there for her or for me. I think that's something like more than wonderful. It's a gift. It's a blessing.
Exactly. And I think the main thing for you also would be, and I love that you brought up journaling, that just by expressing that, you're already bringing your goal into the present moment because you're saying it out loud. So it makes your goal feel more real than just dreaming it up in your head and not sharing it at all with others.
Okay. Um, I'd like to bring in the burnout aspect in here. Uh, Now, this is something like, a continuation of that procrastination and how it puts a dent on the momentum. Now, uh, how do you guide, coach entrepreneurs, doers, achievers to sustain that momentum without burning out? Because, sometimes this anxiety or the constant, that consistency, that discipline, sometimes it really puts a lot of weight on our physical, our mental, our emotional, spiritual health. So, how do you guide?
Well, one thing is that remember we took petite practice, so we take
Mhm.
small action. We could say, okay, let's plan this world trip until tomorrow. We take small actions. And while you
Mm.
could tell yourself until the end of this year, I'm going to plan this trip, you're also looking back and looking at what works and examine the steps and then evaluate what worked well and praise your progress. So you need to, without, putting a label on burnout, really, you also need to be realistic on when can I accomplish this particular goal? What is
Mhm.
realistic? And in reality, it starts with, for me, 15 minutes per day. Just think
Mm.
about this. If you take 15 minutes out of your day and you plan or you take action on your big goal, that
Mhm.
really creates some momentum during the week. And it's not big time because you probably spend 15 minutes scrolling through social media. So we're not getting burned out at all. We are essentially just weaving in some little patterns of making our big goal become reality, your bucket list becoming something that we are chipping away at. And I think that that alone really creates already some joy and momentum. And there might be days when the 15 minutes go by fast, and then you're like, well, should I continue? And there might be some days when the 15 minutes seem really long and you look at the clock, it's like, oh, only 5 minutes passed. And that's okay too,
Yeah.
because it's at the end of the day, it's just 15 minutes. And we all have that time. If you don't have that time, you have a serious problem, to be honest with you. But you do
Yeah.
have that time. You could even break it up if it seems really long into chunks of 3 5-minute sessions.
Mm.
Pay to, right? So let's say there's some particular thing that is seeming a little bit harder on one day. Maybe you're tired,
Mm.
exhausted. Just break it up. Chunk the 50 minutes into 5-minute sessions. And again, you're just creating petite, small action, getting closer to your goal every step you take.
Wow. I really like, it's not like, just uh 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's like a rhythm in there. And it's not like just a single unified system. You can either consume a full chunk of 15 minutes, or, if you're not maybe feeling comfortable, then just break it down to 5 minutes, kind of sprint. So yeah, that's really, I think that's really effective. Some days I feel like that. So I think it would be really, kind of, super helpful for me to like dedicate 5 minutes maybe first in the morning, and then maybe after a few hours another 5 minutes or something like that.
Completely. And it also makes your day a little bit more broken up because you're not working on that one task, but you're just
Mm.
weaving it in and creating these moments where, again, you might examine at that second 5-minute mark. How did that work in the morning? Was it something that
Mm.
really felt I've moved the needle? And then in the evening, you look back and it's like, all right, I spent 10 minutes on this already today. So let's take a look. The main thing is, for instance, I work with writers that you don't immediately erase at that second 5 minutes writing session what you wrote in the morning and you think, well, let's start over. You actually need to keep going, right? So it's not, we're never striving for perfection. You kind of, let's say, every day you want to write 2 pages in your book. You
Mhm.
actually really need to break up the 15 minutes then and think about, all right, so in my second setting, I'm continuing the train of thought I had in my first one, and then the third one kind of wraps it up. So that's how you need to look at it. It needs to build and there needs to be progress. It cannot be like, well, let's make this completely perfect. It don't strive for that because it's just setting you up for being your own worst critique, and you don't really want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Super, super. So, Christina, it's a ritual. I have to ask you. So, if our listener they would like to connect with you and get to the deeper levels of how they can cultivate.
I would love to work with you, of course. Check in with me. The website is drchristiane.com. You can also find a link to my Discover Your Superpower quiz that allows you to find your own unique skills, your unique value that you're sharing with the world. And of course, a link to my podcast, Happy Healthy Hustle, where I'm sharing a lot of tips and tricks in tapping into your own superpower. Lastly, of course, check out links how to work with me. I'm currently writing my fourth book. I already have three right behind me that you can get on various websites, including Amazon. I'm writing my fourth and fifth book about my runway to the red dot, the TEDx stage, and also finding your voice. And that will also then lead to my one on one coaching and helping you maybe get to the TEDx stage or finding your voice and your superpower. So I can't wait to connect with you. And of course, as always, reach out. Let's get in touch.
Super. That's awesome. I make sure to have all the details in the show notes for our listeners. And Sarah, this was such an energetic, such an insightful conversation. And I believe, personally, I have learned and I realized, that big change, they come from small, petite steps, intentional moves, and sustainable success.
Sustainable success leads to amazing results.
Ah,
We got this. I think, like I say, I'm so proud. We recorded an amazing episode here.
yeah, absolutely. And to all the listeners out there, momentum isn't some magical force out there. It is the outcome of clarity and consistent, disciplined, aligned actions. It's about choosing the practices that move us closer to our vision, one small step at a time. And remembering that wellness and rest are not detours, they are part of the path. So, with that, I wrap up this conversation on the mindful living. Make sure to connect with Christiana. I'll have all the details in the show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. Until then, this is Mindful Living, and I'm your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.